Have you ever wondered how YouTube just knows the perfect video to recommend next? Or how Spotify builds a playlist that feels like it read your mind? Well, I can tell you it's definitely not magic. It's an incredibly powerful data architecture working behind the scenes. In this explainer, we're going to pull back that curtain and follow the exact journey data takes to make those ridiculously smart decisions.
I mean, just think about it for a second. How does a company like Airbnb sift through millions of places to find the one you'll love? Or how does Uber figure out the fastest route for your ride, dodging traffic all in what feels like the blink of an eye? These are just massive, real-time data puzzles.
And the answer, at its core, is actually pretty straightforward, but it is incredibly powerful. They are all built on something called an AI-first data platform. This is basically the engine that powers the modern internet, and today we're going to break down exactly how it works.
So, we're going to follow the data through a 5-step journey. First, ingestion, where the data is born. Then storage, where it finds a new home. After that, processing, where we get it all organized. Then comes the really cool part, AI and ML, the spark of intelligence. And finally, the payoff, that smart decision that gets you a ride or helps you find a new favorite song.
All right, let's dive right in. Act 1 is all about capturing and containing the data. This is the front door to the entire system, where every single click, every purchase, every user action first makes contact.
Now, you gotta understand, data doesn't all show up in the same way. On one hand, you've got streaming data. This is the live, right this second stuff, like when you click Request Ride on Uber. On the other hand, you have batch data, which is collected over time, like a shop's final sales report at the end of the day. You need to handle both.
So, how in the world do you handle millions of real-time events flooding in all at once? Well, use something like PubSub. The best way to think of it is as a super fast, super reliable digital postal service. It takes every single piece of data, every message, and guarantees it gets delivered instantly where it needs to go.
Okay, once that data arrives, it needs a place to live. And that home is what we call a data lake, which on Google Cloud is usually Google Cloud Storage, or GCS. The lake analogy is actually perfect because this isn't some neat, organized library. No, it's a massive, cheap place to dump everything in its original, raw, messy format. We'll sort it out later.
And that brings us right to Act 2, the transformation. We've captured all this raw data in our lake, but right now it's a total mess. To do anything useful with it, we absolutely have to bring some order to that chaos.
You know, the truth is, raw data by itself is pretty much useless. It's often filled with mistakes, duplicates, just all sorts of inconsistencies. This transformation stage is where we turn that messy pile of information into something clean, reliable, and structured that our systems can actually understand.
And the command center for this whole operation is a tool called BigQuery. It's a data warehouse which you can think of as a highly organized, superpowered library for all of our clean data. And the best part? It's serverless, which is just a fancy way of saying developers don't have to worry about managing servers. They can just focus on asking the data questions.
And how do they ask those questions? With commands that look just like this. Now, don't let the code scare you. Seriously, think of this as just writing a very specific set of instructions for the database. We're telling it exactly what we want to find out.
So in plain English, all that code is really saying is, hey, look at all the sales data we have, add up the totals for each region, and then give me a nice, clean summary table. And just like that, we've turned a mess of data into a valuable piece of insight.
Now, this is where the real magic starts to happen. We've got our clean, organized data, so it's time for Act 3, activating the AI brain and creating that spark of intelligence. This is where all that hard work of cleaning and organizing really pays off. Because our data is now reliable and structured, we can use it to train an artificial intelligence model. And you might be surprised just how easy that can be. Take a look at this command. It looks a lot like the one we saw before, right? But instead of creating a table, we're telling the system to create model. We're feeding it past customer behavior, things like their age, how much they spend, how often they visit, to teach it what a customer who's about to leave looks like. And the result of that is incredibly powerful. The system can now look at a current customer's behavior and predict, with a pretty high degree of accuracy, if they're at risk of leaving. This means a business can jump in with a special offer or some extra support before they lose that customer for good. That is the AI payoff.
So we've seen the whole journey, from raw data all the way to a smart prediction.
But to make this whole thing work safely and reliably when you're dealing with huge amounts of data, you need one final, absolutely critical layer: governance.
I mean, a platform this powerful needs some serious guardrails. You need strong governance to make sure the data is secure and trustworthy. You need a data catalog, which is basically like a library's card system so people can find what they're looking for. You need strict access controls so only the right people can see sensitive data. And of course, you need smart tools to keep the cost from getting out of control. So let's put it all together. Let's recap the entire journey Uber style. You click a button in the app. Boom! PubSub instantly grabs that click. It gets saved raw in the GCS data lake. BigQuery then cleans it up. An AI model trained on all this clean data makes a decision. And the result? A personalized recommendation appears on your screen literally seconds after you clicked.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. The reason platforms like Google Cloud or GCP are so dominant is that they've made this entire incredibly complex journey as fast and as seamless as possible. They give you all the tools you need to go from raw, messy data to a valuable AI-driven decision faster than anyone else.
At the end of the day, it's a total revolution in how we use information, turning these raw bits and bytes into predictions that shape our entire digital world. And it leaves you with a really fascinating question to think about. With this kind of power at our fingertips, what will your data decide next?